Welcome to the summer of. Mercedes ties up all of the loose end projects that she's been meaning to do for a very long time. Today we're going to be doing a lineup video. This is a series I started some years ago, and it's essentially what it sounds like. It's a lineup of everything that I have tested and have a comprehensive experience with in a particular product category. I have a playlist of lineup videos, which I'll put up here, link below. And it's also been a very long time since I've done a lineup video, but I have been holding on to this little crate full of mascaras for several years. 2 to 3 years, I think. And I'm kind of glad that I've waited, because I feel now is really the right time to do it in terms of some of the recent ones I've tried and what I'm currently using. Let me just set the stage for you a little bit. This is mostly eco mascaras. However, there are some exceptions, like I have some Kevyn Aucoin, some Bite Beauty, but for the most part, it's from eco brands, which is a notoriously difficult product category. And also, I think we just need to have the caveat that mascara, much like deodorant, is exceedingly personal. And there's just not a lot of consensus. I mean, I guess there is some general consensus around some of these, like a lot of people like the Ilia Limitless Lash. However, I was not one of those people. So everyone has their different lash preferences, and mascaras wear really differently on people depending on skin chemistry, natural oils of the skin. So those are some of the main just things to consider. So I hope that this will be useful so that you can at least see the mascaras and the different wands that they employ, and you can get a sense for what may or may not work for you. But just keep in mind that these are products that you just really kind of have to test yourself. And thankfully, I mean, a lot of brands have started doing, they're not the most cost efficient way to buy mascaras, like these travel sizes. Also, I would say that sometimes the smaller mascaras don't always perform exactly the same way as like the full size of a mascara does. For whatever reason, it's one of those just kind of like weird makeup things, I guess. Now, the other framing I want to give is that I have just been on a quest for a really long time to find a replacement for the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes Mascara. This had been really the mascara that I would return to time and time again, no matter what I would try, eco or not. Sometimes I would even find things that I would go through a couple tubes of, and then inevitably I would say, you know, I just really want the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes. It's a really good mascara, but I really just wanted to be kind of done with it. I really dislike the packaging. It used to be, I think I only have one in here. I mean, oh no, I do have the old packaging, but I haven't used this mascara in a long time. This was the old packaging, and somehow they made it even worse by making it holographic. Even though it's a good formula and it worked for me in a lot of ways, I was just really ready to find like a new go-to mascara. As far as announcements, I only have about a month and a half left of actively working on LAMOUR before I go on maternity leave, sabbatical. I'm having a baby in late September, and we're going to be moving out of state. So I'm doing some content around that. I'm doing kind of a pregnancy update and community sourced Q&A about the move and all of that kind of thing on Patreon for the month of August. Then on the public feed of my podcast, I'll also be doing here's the plan for LAMOUR. Here's how you can go to Patreon, even though I'm pausing payments, and start working through the archives if you're looking for new material. Because if you haven't been on there, there's just a ton of stuff, and since the payments are paused, it's just like a one-time paywall to go behind and not a recurring monthly payment. So I'm going to be doing a podcast episode all about that, when you can expect to see me back, how you can keep in touch with me if you're interested during my maternity leave, because I'm not going away completely. I will still be around. In terms of video content that I want to get out here on YouTube for the rest of the month and a half, I guess, that I'm going to be doing work, I'm going to have an Earthwise review coming up of the cleansers, mists, and serums. So that's going to be coming up. I'm going to do my Indie Beauty Expo 2019 review. If I can, I'll try and get one last kind of skincare or get ready with me type of video up just to say goodbye. Only other announcement is I'm going to try and get one more newsletter out before my leave. So you can go to lamourlamusique.com, click on the newsletter tab, and sign up to receive that. So I do want to send out one more newsletter, even though I have not done as many as I had hoped that I would do since I launched it. That's just the way life goes. Okay, mascara lineup. The semblance of organization that I'm going to do is from dislike to like. So I'm going to do a continuum of didn't work for me, critiques, things that were okay, but still had some problems, into things that actually I do think worked for me and that I could proffer a guess would work for people who have a similar taste in mascara that I do, which is I like a lot of volume. I have never found a synthetic bristle brush that I like long term, so I am very much in the natural fiber mascara brush camp. And I do think this is a minority because a lot of people really like the separation and the length and to some extent the volume that a synthetic or rubberized wand can give. And sometimes some of the wands are sort of hard to tell what they are. So I like a big, fluffy, overdone lash. I much prefer volume to length. I just like my lashes to get sort of pumped up, fluttered out, fluffy, clumpy even is sometimes okay with me. That's it. I don't often tend to deal with transferring, but sometimes it does happen, especially with some of the ones we're going to talk about today. All right, on the end of the spectrum that I really did not get on with are two tubing mascaras. So this is not a mascara technology, if you will, that works for me. A tubing mascara is a mascara that essentially, instead of coating the lashes with whatever waxes or pigments or whatever materials they're using, it actually deposits a little tube that encases the lash, and the selling point, I guess, is supposed to be that it's easy to remove and they just are supposed to slide off. In practice, I've just found that if you are someone that likes volume, these are not particularly good mascaras. I don't know, I don't like them, and I don't find them any easier to remove personally, but your experience may differ. So the two, actually, this may not be a tubing mascara. This one definitely is the Calvin Aquan, the volume mascara. Now this one I found somewhat deceiving, and I used this probably 3+ years ago. It's been a really long time. I mean, look at this tiny little brush. Very similar to something like the Surratt Releve mascara, which I have also tried in years past and ended up returning. But it had a very tiny little wand like this. You know, you're supposed to work it into the root, sweep up, deposit the tube. I thought I liked this initially, and then after a couple of weeks I was like, oh no, no. So didn't work for me, but if you like a tubing mascara, I guess that's an option. Now this is not a tubing mascara, so I guess I only had one in here, but my other least favorite of this lineup is the 100% Pure Fruit Pigmented mascara. I tried this a couple of years ago. I forget, I think it came in some sort of PR because I did not buy it. And I found this to be like nothing on the lashes. I remember it giving, basically looks like you have barely put anything on in my experience. And at the same time, I had tried their liquid liner, which was like applying latex glue to the lash line. So no, and I've heard that people really like this. I guess if you like a very natural lash that's just gonna, say you have like fair lashes, or you just want them to tint them, maybe something like this could be good, but total no-go for me. This is Glossier Lash Slick. So I got this whenever it launched. It is a synthetic bristle brush. The 100% Pure is a natural bristle brush, but both do very, very little for the lashes. So if you like something very, very natural, I don't even know if Glossier still makes this or if they've moved on to bigger and better things as the brand that they are. It's not a brand I follow at all anymore. They certainly do not seem to have the same hype that they once did. I'm just reflecting on how much the beauty space has changed since I threw some of these products in here and was supposed to do this review like 2 years ago. So Glossier Lash Slick, no. We move on to like a cluster, I guess, of eco mascaras that are kind of in the middling category. And then I have some samples of more conventional stuff that I tried, and then we end with the things that are kind of getting a little bit better. Okay, so the 4 that I'm gonna kind of lump together with varying degrees of how much I liked them are the Sappho New Paradigm Mascara, the Well People Volumizing Mascara, and I think I also have a sample of the Well People Lengthening Mascara. I think that's what this one is, because I've tried both. They first came out with the lengthening, and then they moved to the volumizing formula. The Honest Beauty Extreme Length Mascara and Lash Primer, and the Air Perez Avocado Waterproof Mascara. So I would kind of group these together in terms of minute gradations of how they performed, but all were middling and not things I wanted to use after testing for on and off for maybe a month with each of them. I guess I would put the Sappho and the Air Perez on the less effective end. I tried this years ago. I don't even remember it all that much. I mean, it's a rubberized wand that's kind of, it's a similar shape to something like Too Faced Better Than Sex, where it's thinner in the middle and then, I don't know, kind of looks like a caterpillar. You know what I mean? What is this shape called? Synthetic bristle wand, rubberized wand. I would say that the Sappho New Paradigm does deposit more product on the lashes than something like 100% Pure or the Glossier. So it is slightly better in that regard. I don't remember having any issues with transfer or flaking, but it's just not the most impactful mascara, and it's not particularly like long wearing. Yeah, so, and it doesn't really hold, I remember it not really holding a curl that well. Slightly even, I would say maybe more natural. Maybe I should have mentioned this one first, the Air Perez Waterproof Avocado Mascara. I had high hopes for this because it is a natural wand, but this sort of reminds me, does Lily Lolo do a mascara? Because I think that's who this reminds me of. It's a conical, is that the right name of shape? But it is natural bristle. However, if you look at the construction of the brush, there's a lot of space between the bristles, which, I mean, I feel like volume comes from a very dense natural bristle brush for the most part. I would still say if you want like a lash tint, a very natural looking lash, that the Air Perez is much better than these, the Glossier or the 100% Pure. And between the Sappho and the Air Perez, I would probably say the Air Perez is a bit better. It just felt like it had more heft, and I am partial to a natural bristle wand. We could talk about this Honest Mascara, which I picked up at Target maybe last year. I decided to try this. It was getting a lot of raves and kind of a lot of buzz in the community, in the online beauty community. I've never consistently stuck with a lash primer, but I have tried the Tarte lash primer in the past, and if you have the patience to work with one, I think Lancome also does them, and I'm sure, I mean, my beauty reference point is old school at this point. I feel like I'd never even go on to Sephora anymore. They're not a retailer that I would really like to support, to be honest with you. I'd rather buy directly from brands, and I've really been trying to eliminate a lot of stockists with rare exception, and just buy directly from smaller brands. But I'm sure so many brands do lash primers at this point. They can make a difference if you have the patience to do that step, but this one I didn't find to be great. I tried the mascara with and without the primer, and it was just a no-go for me. It's actually a very similar shaped wand to the Air Perez, but this is rubberized, whereas this is natural bristle. But they have almost an identical construction. Let me do them side by side. I guess the Air Perez is like slightly wider, fatter, but they're quite similar with that conical shape and the spacing of the bristles. So again, more of a lengthening formula if you already have very full fluttery lashes and you just want to define and kind of fan them out a bit. Maybe that's who this was working for, and people that had good success with the primer. It just wasn't for me. I found that I did get length from it, I remember, but sort of thin, slightly anemic looking lashes on me personally, almost like too weighted down with the primer and the formula on top. This is sort of a cult favorite, or a mascara that people have relied on for years in Eco Beauty, because Well People, the lengthening version, was really one of the only worthwhile mascaras in Eco Beauty for quite a long time. Around 2014, 2015, it's the mascara that almost everybody was using because there just weren't a lot of good options. This is just the little travel size of the lengthening. And I honestly can't remember if the brush has gone through iterations of design. It may have, but the lengthening version of Well People is a rubberized wand, whereas the volumizing Well People, which of course I had to try, is a natural bristle wand. However, it still has pretty widely spaced apart bristles. It's somewhat thin for a wand. Not that that necessarily matters, but I just find that I personally have better success with a mascara wand that's fatter and chunkier, because I think that leads to more bristles with more ability to deposit product, and in sort of like, I don't know what it is exactly. I do actually think that the Well People volumizing is a decent option if it doesn't transfer on you. However, I think all of these formulas are going to transfer and flake off on somebody, just like the way it goes when you're talking about mascara. I used this on and off for a couple of months and I found things that I liked better, but I honestly think that it's a decent option, like somewhere around like a B or a B minus, if I'm remembering correctly. One of the main issues that people had with the OG lengthening formula from Well People is that it transferred. So people would like the effect that it gave, but they just got really bad transfer, panda eyes. Just something you're gonna have to, I think, try yourself on your own chemistry and try the little, I don't know if they do the volumizing in small size, but they probably do. Okay, now let me just quickly, I barely remember two of these, but these are three little sample non-eco mascaras. I'll just buzz through before we get to kind of like the good stuff. So this is Marc Jacobs Velvet Noir, which I was really excited to try. This is a mascara that everybody, just in the beauty space generally, would often compare mascaras to. Marc Jacobs Velvet Noir, the Makeup Forever mascara. I know that it's all new brands that people are obsessed with now, and I probably just sound like an old timer. This is the Smashbox Super Fan Fanned Out Mascara. I barely remember trying this, and I know when I see the wand, I can understand why. And then ooh, it smells bad. This is the only one I've opened up that smells incredibly rank. Who could forget Too Faced Better Than Sex? This was a long time favorite mascara of mine. Hate the name. I think it's really dumb to try and sell products with sexuality, but that's just me. Marc Jacobs Velvet Noir, I personally thought was a bit of a letdown, but it's sort of unfair because I would venture to guess that the full size of this, sorry, I need to like readjust and like get my pelvis a little bit. My belly is definitely at the point where it's kind of getting in the way of things. I venture to guess the full size of this performs better than the small one. I was disappointed. I did not get nearly the volume that I thought I was gonna get. This is a brush construction that I would think personally I would really like. Yeah, this one smells fine. It's a fluffy natural bristle wand, and I guess what I would say is that the bristles on this one I remember being very soft. So I think it's like there's always like something that's just not quite right. When the bristles are too soft, they don't grip the lashes in the way that they necessarily need to. But I know so many people love the Marc Jacobs mascara. I was just not one of those people. The Smashbox Superfan, I think I tried for maybe a week, and it was just so totally like deprived, sagging looking lashes, and it's a rubberized wand in almost like an inverse shape to how a lot of wands look, where they're like fat, thin out, and get fat again at the end. This is like thin, bloats in the middle, and tapers at the end. Really weird. I would be surprised if they're even still making this. Too Faced Better Than Sex I loved and repurchased many tubes of on and off for years. I think I just held on to this little sample to include here, but you've probably heard me talk about it before. Often when I would try and find eco mascaras that I would like, but I would always default to Tarte and Too Faced Better Than Sex. And they give similar effects. I would say I still like the Tarte slightly better than this, and this does transfer on me. It was just something that I dealt with because I really liked the effect that it gave my lashes, which is very fluffy, spidery. If I could build this one up like crazy, but it just wasn't as long lasting as the Tarte. But both of these were longtime favorites of mine. The Ilia Limitless Lash Mascara I do think is a bit of a step up from this cluster of eco mascaras I told you about, the Sappho, the Airpress, the Honest, and the Well People. But then I would say it's like slightly a notch below the Bite Upswing Mascara, which is not in here, and I don't know why. That really stinks because now I can't show you the wand. I wonder if the toddler made off with this somewhere. All right, it's nowhere to be found, which is unfortunate, but we're just gonna have to consider that a casualty. So Ilia Limitless Lash is good, but I would still consider it a notch below Bite Upswing, which I tried this summer. And then also I have 2 tubes here of the Fit Glow Beauty mascara. So Ilia Limitless Lash, this mascara I feel has replaced kind of the crowd pleasing favorite that Well People used to have. So Ilia Limitless Lash is like the updated kind of go-to mascara, I feel, for people in green beauty, at least from what I've observed. I would say that it is an improved eco mascara from the Well People that everyone used to use 5-7 years ago. But again, if you like the kind of lash I like, you're probably not going to like it as much as other people do who just want a very lengthening experience. I found it to be not volumizing. It's described as buildable, flake-free, and 99% natural, lengthens, lifts, and curls. So to be fair, it doesn't even promise to volumize. I am glad I tried this to have a reference point, but it was not for me personally. Now, Bite Upswing was pretty good. However, I'm going to set this aside and talk about it with the mascara that it was kind of battling against, which is Kosas The Big Clean. We can talk about Fit Glow for a minute. So I tried this mascara right when it first launched some years ago. Wow, the brush looks really mangled. And I found it hard to work with, but I did think that it gave a nice effect. Now, not everybody liked it. I do think they iterated on the formula, and I haven't tried it in a couple of years, so I can't attest to what a current fresh bottle of this is. It's also expensive. So you have to be willing to drop, I'm not exactly sure how much a tube of it is, but a lot of Fit Glow's products are pricey. So it's definitely a pricier mascara, and I personally think that the Kosas Big Clean is better and it's less expensive. However, I did like the Fit Glow mascara. I really did. I don't remember having a lot of transferring issues with it. My main issue was just that the wand was somewhat hard to work with. It's a very dry, thick formula, and a lot of people didn't like it. So I'm like questioning the wisdom of even doing this video because I feel very much like an outlier in my mascara preferences. So I don't want people to be disappointed if they try something that I said is okay and they end up hating it. This could be way too heavy of a formula for you, depending on your lashes, like how full your lashes naturally are, what you're looking for. I do remember that this on me held a curl pretty well, which is surprising because I would consider it to be a relatively heavy formula. Like when you take this off, like a lot comes off. It's very, very black. It's very thick, kind of heavy formula, but I did find it to wear well. I have these old vintage Tarte mascaras, which actually someone that supports me on Patreon had sent me this little mini that I think she received just for in case I wanted to have one around. So I've had this in my makeup bag, but I haven't. Now that I've opened it, I'll start interchanging it just to use it with my everyday mascara, which is right now the Kosas Big Clean. But I still think this is a good mascara, but for all the reasons I said, it's just something that I'd like to buy from a smaller brand. The packaging really irritates me, but it is a good product and it worked for me for a number of years. And I had tried lots of Tarte's other mascaras, like the one that was in the bamboo packaging, and none of them were as good as Lights Camera Lashes. Lights Camera Flashes, the waterproof version of this, not as good. So, you know, if you still shop at Sephora and the packaging doesn't bother you and you like Tarte, then I totally think it's a worthwhile mascara to try because it really ticks a lot of boxes for a lot of different people. Now, most recently, I have been relying for the last year, maybe a little bit more, on the Kosas Big Clean, which is, I guess, not a new launch anymore. It's been out for over a year. I also decided to try the Bite Upswing Full Volume Mascara because you can see a picture of the brush right here, even though I don't have it, unfortunately, here to show you. It's that shade. It's very, very similar to Too Faced Better Than Sex. After testing these side by side for a couple of months and kind of going back and forth and not really knowing because both have pros and cons, I still am relying on Kosas the Big Clean as my go-to mascara. This is a brand new one, actually. I just bought a new one. I went through a full tube, repurchased, and this is what I'm using. Let me show you the wand. The only thing, well, there's a couple of things about this. It has a little bit of a weird rose smell. This is the first time I have ever used a brush that has an arch shape, and I like it so much more than I thought it was going to. I have to say the brush construction of this mascara is really good. You can just get right into the root of the lashes and it hugs them and you comb up. I had never used a wand shaped like an arch before, but I like almost never have issues with transfer upon application. So sometimes that will happen when you're working with another type of brush. You'll get deposits of mascara like behind your lashes on the eyelids, and then you have to clean it up and it can mess up your eye makeup. I would never ever get that with this. I think the brush construction is amazing. It's a natural fiber brush. It deposits the right amount of product for me. I mean, it could be a little clumpier, but I do find it to be buildable. It starts out slightly wet when you open a fresh tube, but it dries down pretty quickly and you get to optimal use like kind of right away. There's not a long ramp up time with it the way with other mascaras. Like for example, with Tarte, it would take up to a month for me to get to a point where I was like really grooving. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of at its optimal moisture level. It's so funny to listen to myself talk about beauty products in such an analytical way. But this is, I like it kind of out of the gate or like after a week or two of being open. I do usually 2 to 3 coats and I'm good to go. It's fine on the lower lashes. Now the big caveat with this, besides the fact that the packaging is a little bulky, and yes, it is a bit loud, but I would prefer this to this. The main issue is that I can almost guarantee that it will transfer on you because it's not a very long wearing formula. Like it doesn't have the longevity that, for example, Bite Upswing does or that the Tarte does. Like these formulas just have something in them that keeps them from transferring, running, smudging, and like really adhering to the lashes. While I did not like the application and effect of the Bite Upswing as much, I was not able to get the same look of lash that I am with Kosas. It wears much better. It's much more long wearing. I can do a 12-hour day with this and I get no transfer whatsoever, whereas it's basically guaranteed that by midday I'm gonna have transfer. I kind of just put up with it because I like so many other aspects of the mascara, and it's not that big of a deal for me to pat it out, similar to how I would pat out like a little bit of under eye creasing with a concealer, or just kind of do like a general makeup touch up. So that's a pretty big caveat to give. I do think that a mascara should not do that. With all of that said, I'm still kind of questing. I'm curious to try the Weiss mascara, but the reason I haven't is because I just kind of know intrinsically that it's not going to give me a fluttery, volumizing type lash, even though they have a volumizing formula. Just from word of mouth and looking at the wand, I can kind of tell. I still want to try it. I have heard good things about the Burt's Bees mascara that I may try. I heard my friend Erin, who shares a lot of her makeup looks on Instagram. She was talking about one of the Hourglass mascaras. So I would sort of Hourglass is still a brand that I quite like. So I would consider that. I know a lot of people like the Pat McGrath mascara. I was curious for a little while about the Manasi 7. I think that's what that brand is called. Has like a $50 mascara. I may be somewhat curious about Chantecaille if they do a mascara. Every now and then I'll go to like Beauty Habit, for example, and peruse what they have. RMS, I've never tried their mascara, and I'm trying to think like of other makeup brands. Luvina, I think, might do a mascara, but maybe I would consider trying that one. Those are kind of the ones that are in my consciousness to look at the wand, assess, and maybe try next. The Kosas Big Clean, I think, will be my standby, and as I did with the Bite Upswing over the last couple of months, I'll bring in a new one periodically to test against this, and that's just kind of how I iterate with products and develop a perspective and try things over time and yada yada. All right, I think that's everything that I have to say on mascara. If you have requests for lineups you'd like to see that wouldn't happen until 2022, I can kind of start planning ahead. I would like to do an oil cleanser, non-emulsifying oil cleanser lineup. I feel like I've done a cleanser lineup, but I definitely need to do an updated one, and I want to do an oil cleansing specific lineup. I'm not sure if I've done a face oil lineup, but I would like to do that. And I definitely need to do an eye product lineup, like all kinds of eye products, serum, oil, balm. So those are kind of the top 3 that I'm thinking about. But if you have other recommendations, please let me know. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me. I'm looking forward to seeing you in these upcoming videos that I've told you about, and hope you're doing well. Take good care. Talk to you soon. Bye.